hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, he, him, they, them, she, hers. Anyway, and anyone else under the sun. Welcome to SydeCast, podcast or show about people, games, and the people who play them.
We all just found it out right there.
Right there. I wanted it on the spot. I am your host, Tremaine, also known as him, also known as Hot Pocket Jackson. And I am joined...
A lot of new names coming out already.
Learning a lot today. I'm learning a lot today.
A lot of history. Dog. Joined by my co-hosts. I'll let them introduce themselves. From my left, going to my right. Sir.
I'm Ron, a.k.a. Thug McNasty, a.k.a. Fit Sasquatch, a.k.a. I don't know, I can't keep up with this guy.
I want all cylinders.
It's firing now. Now we're live. Yeah, just here, happy to be here with these guys and be invited to do this cool stuff.
Me?
I think,
All right,
I think
he's
it's-
looked at me. All right,
I'm
Drew,
identified.
a.k.a. Drew, also known as Drew Till Death. I'll take a different name at that point.
Okay.
Thinking Anthony. I don't know. I feel like Anthony. I'll be Anthony
pull it off.
post-death.
I think you pull it off.
I'll still be very Italian, but only like
That too.
yeah. And I'm excited to try this thing out.
Same? Yeah. I'm Rachel. I'm not going to bother with AKs. I don't think I got any. I think at this point,
I think all of mine were just my name.
I think all of them are just like, I can't keep up with them. I mean, I could give you my Twitter handle. Actually, I don't even have Twitter anymore. We're just going to pass on that. I'm Rachel, and I'm happy to be here. What's Twitter? X.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was Xing things out today.
Yeah. Makes
Also
sense.
known, little do you know, Elon baby girl. That's the X. That's what X is. That's right. No.
Okay.
It's a brainchild.
Can we not bring Elon into the first episode?
No, I mean,
We slid right into it. I unintentionally put us right there.
Bring it up.
Right there.
is like time to Elon the podcast equivalent of video games time to box. Like
45 seconds to Elon.
Real quick.
the developers are out of content the moment that you have to push a box in a video game. The podcast is out of content the moment they just have to be like, let's talk about Elon Musk.
We got to.
It worked for Joe Rogan.
I have to go, actually.
It was fun.
It's been great.
I know I'm host, but like and I know I brought it up.
Jamie,
Anyway.
can you check on that time to Elon? Jamie?
Damn.
Oh, we're holding the
fast.
record, 45 seconds. All right, put it in the G. Minutes.
I want to talk about the Game Awards.
Okay.
Firstly, I want to talk about everyone's history with video games.
Okay.
What did you play growing up? What were your favorites? What you playing now? Me personally, and I'm not gonna get on start yet, because I have soapbox. It's behind me.
I know that it's going to be inspired.
About how I feel.
reframe
I
the
would say,
camera.
yeah. Do I need to go get it?
I mean,
You just you tag me when you need it. You tag me when you need it. Yeah.
Big fan of Dragon Age Veilguard,
Okay.
Yeah.
and I'll stop there.
Also, your first game ever.
You know,
That's the
went back in
entirety of
time.
your history.
Is that game starting and ending there?
no,
Oh, okay.
I want to, because like I got to 200 hour pretty fast, but that's not the point. Growing up, I was a big wrestling kid. Still am. Wrestling man now. So I play a lot of WWE games. Those are all my favorites. Growing up.
Okay.
The amount of characters I've created over the years is insurmountable. But that's me. Ron, what's
Did you have a favorite character that you created?
So right now, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Big passionate.
Yeah.
Right now in WWE 2K24, I have Kyle Ace.
Okay.
There's a future Kyle Ace, a present Kyle Ace, and a past Kyle Ace.
He's a time traveler?
Okay.
And also, I've got UFC 5. I like sports games.
Okay.
Kyle Ace is also a UFC fighter.
Okay.
Kyle Ace, multifaceted.
Is it like a CM Punk scenario where like started in wrestling, tried the MMA thing, back to wrestling?
Well, so
Or-
like better than CM Punk because I don't know if you noticed, got obliterated.
He did.
Like
He got
Different sport.
It's a different sport.
it's too different of a sport to have gotten into so late.
Sure.
Like
Jordan can do
whoever talked him into it is also a bad person.
I think he talked himself into it.
And they're also that's not better. Yeah. That means his ego way too high.
Well, I'm sure also his bank account very high.
Way too high.
Yeah.
At what cost?
Hey, listen, just put that on the record. I'll get beat up on television for a lot of money.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, so
I'm not gonna lie
I
to
mean,
you. I'm not gonna lie to you at all.
Yeah. CM Punk, if
avoid
you
my
want to get out
temporal
here,
lobe.
also a fellow Edgeman. So if you want to just beat the shit out of me on live television,
Straight edge.
if you just want two straight edge people to fight
go.
on live television, and you'll win. Not that it's rigged, just you will win.
Don't drink the Gatorade before the show. There may be some stuff.
Ron, what about you?
I'm a 80s baby like Drew. Sorry, Drew, I called you out. But, I mean, it's fair.
It was straight shot.
We got younger people here. No, I mean, I grew up, I had pretty much everything, growing up. Mom had an Atari, so started back with that piece of furniture. Yeah, the one that was wooden. I didn't play it. Yeah, you started it with a crank. I didn't really play it. We did have Pong. That was like my mom's thing or whatever. But I started like with NES. And I remember my dad, we found it in the classifieds ad in the newspaper for somebody that we were buying it from. So like we went and bought it. Way back. So like in the paper, in the classifieds, didn't have MapQuest, had to find his house. I still remember the inside of his house. Like it was like all wooden walls and all that stuff. But yeah, so it started with like Mario and Mario 2 and Mario 3 nonstop, pretty much there. Or Duck Hunt. Loved that as well. But then lots of Sega, Mortal Kombat, the Sonic games, of course, and Vector Man. You guys ever played Ristar? Ristar was like my jam. It was really ridiculous. Yeah, we'll have to look it up. My cousin and I used to play it, and it was like one of our favorite games. But yeah, so lots of that. But I didn't really start getting serious until like Xbox. It's like when Xbox came out, then Halo dropped, and then it was a whole thing. My brother and I just countless hours in Halo. And then that really just kind of took me all the way up to Destiny. So when Destiny came out, then I played that too much, and then Destiny 2 came out, and then I played that too much. So 10 plus years of Destiny, and I just recently, like I told Tremaine this weekend, that I finally quit it. So it was hard.
You kicked hard. We're proud of you.
It was hard, but really it's just a matter of my graphics card screams when I turn the game on. So I can't play it anymore without the machine going. So it's not worth it.
Zer just comes out of a corner and is like,
And that's why I picked up the Pokemon TCG. So the cardboard doesn't make noises except for shuffling and all that
but
stuff.
But it does hurt the wallet.
It does hurt the wallet.
I don't know if it does any more than Destiny, though.
That's true.
Probably not.
Every 3 months.
Now that you said it out loud, I feel like you kicked an addiction
Yeah.
for another one.
You're right.
Not to psychoanalyze. That's not what we're here for.
Yeah. Is it?
Hey,
Let's move on to the
maybe deeper
Delilah points.
episodes.
We'll play a song so that we can all reminisce of
Delilah?
losing. Yes. Anyways.
Me, very, very similar to Ron. My Aunt Lonnie got an NES when I was 4 years old on release. And I came over to her house and played it. So she had a release NES, and
What was the game?
it was Mario. It was the package, Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt.
yeah.
That was the pack-in.
But then there was the / track and field. Don't forget about the / track and field.
/ track and field, yeah. And so I think, now this is a few years ago, and I believe that Excitebike, but I believe Excitebike was also a release title for NES, and so I think those are the 3 2.5 games that she had. And then that is all I talked about for like a year straight was needing an NES. And then I got one the following year for Christmas. And then I have had every console on release night until the last generation of consoles. So until this generation of this generation of console was the first generation of console I did not purchase on release night every version of the console. I don't even have a PS5, which we'll probably talk about here in a little bit.
Same.
Gotcha. So you didn't get your all systems badge. Got it.
I do not have my all systems badge. And I started picking up PC gaming in 1995. And that was I was too young at the time to be building my own PC, so myself and the rest of the PC gamers that I knew were just buying over-the-counter PCs. I would tell you that at that stage of the game, I don't really think gaming PCs existed. Right? From my perspective, they didn't. There wasn't any modern-day gaming PCs that mattered. In fact, like talking about Halo and Bungie, like Bungie's original release Marathon was on iMac, or it was like a Macintosh exclusive release, and those weren't gaming PCs. So I would play a lot of like. I play like a lot of city builder games and
Scorched Earth.
racing games. I never played Scorched Earth. I did mail in for a early release version of Jurassic Park: The Lost World RTS game, and I got it in the mail. They shipped it to me. This was probably 96, 97, whenever that movie came out, which I think was
That's the second one, yeah.
It was the second one, yeah. I played the absolute hell out of that game, and then into things like StarCraft and Age of Empires and all that sort of stuff, and then
Cheat codes with the Cobras.
yeah, and then into the first-person shooter realm. Halo. We built. A good high school friend who's now passed away. That's not fun. But we went to Goodwill. We bought like old to other people, new to us, big screen televisions. We got 4 of them. We ran extension cords out to a barn in the back of his house, and we would just drive there after high school, and we'd just like LAN part. We had Xboxes, 4 of them, just sat in this barn. I mean, like dirt floor. No, like couches, Halo. So played an absolute shit ton of Halo from end of high school into college, and then cut to really nowadays primarily a PC gamer. I pretty much only play on that, my Steam Deck, the Switch for the Nintendo exclusive stuff. I've got Xbox Game Pass. I do have an Xbox downstairs on my TV, but I boot that thing up rarely because I can play pretty much everything on it. I also got bit by the Destiny bug very heavily. I was predisposed as a Halo player, I feel like.
Yeah. The music, the soundtrack, the story.
Yeah. I've got 1 billion hours in Dota 2 and Team Fortress 2. I played like, this is kind of right before, like pre the big esports, but I was on a competitive TF2 team called the Uber Melons. Shout out to the Uber Melons. I was their pyro.
The Uber Melon.
Yeah, the format for Uber Melons was Highlander, so that one of everybody on the team. There was one of each class on the team, so 9v9. And there you go. I was the team's pyro, which is why I have the pyro tattooed on my leg.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. That's lots and lots and lots of gaming, especially on the video game front.
Yeah. Yeah, I little bit younger than I'm guessing you guys are with 80s babies. I'm early 91. So I started with Game Boy and SNES. Some of my friends had NESs, so I dabbled a little bit in that, but I can't remember exactly because I think I was like 5 when these overlaps happened between Game Boy and SNES. I don't remember which one landed in my hand first, but I do remember getting my SNES for Christmas and like losing my mind.
Mario World.
So I was more of a
Kart.
Donkey Kong girl, actually. So Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3 were big ones, big titles. Dad and I played a lot together. My dad was a big video game enthusiast, and he's really the one that got me into video gaming when I was a kid. So we played a lot of just trade-off remote when I was younger. Got in, and so I kind of stuck with Nintendo for a period of time, and then one of my friends had a PlayStation, and so just kind of everything started exploding from that point for me. Where just like everything I could get my hands on, Crash Bandicoot, if I could get my hands on. I remember playing Siphon Filter. I just anything I could grab a hold of in the video game space, I wanted it. But predominantly like an adventure space. So I've always been more of an adventure story gamer than. I've played my fair share of first-person shooters. I am not a big online gamer for the like jump into the world now, like we're talking present state. I'm not. That's not my jam. Like I am a Witcher 3 diehard, like that type of genre. Not that you can compare a ton of things to The Witcher 3, but in general, that type
Exactly
of
zero things.
that genre,
things.
Yeah.
that type of genre is my space that I like to exist in. So big right now, like in current titles, the Horizon titles are huge
Okay.
for me. Absolutely love playing. I mean, obviously, getting a chance to play as a female protagonist that is genuinely a badass is really fun space for me to be in too. Tomb Raider was a big deal for me as well in that same vein. So yeah, but anything I could get my hands on growing up. I had GameCube, but I did take a break in college, so I totally lost track of what was going on in the gaming space because I knew if I took my 360 with me to my dorm, I would not go to
I was
class.
just gonna say, did you stop playing games to actually pay attention?
That's
You want an education?
so I sold my 360 to one of my friends.
I did not.
And I dropped out of college, so
I did not know. I was very close. World of Warcraft.
Yeah. No, my roommate played WoW, which she would kill anybody or kill me for telling anybody that because she is like the antithesis of what you'd expect from a WoW player. But anyway,
Well, it's out there now.
Clara, if you're listening, no,
My bad.
my bad. I just threw you right under that bus. But so I took a break, and then my senior year of college, I was like, oh man, like I'm almost done, and what do I do? Should I buy a PS4? Because that's what's out. Like, you know, so I really went back and forth, and I said, you know what? I need to pay my dues, and I got myself a PS3. And so
Retroactive.
I got myself a PS3 my senior year of college and played the shit out of it. I did not leave my dorm. Like my friends would come knock on my door and be like, "Are you playing God of War again? Get out! Get out! Everybody leave!"
I'm Kratos.
So they'd be like, "Do you want to go out?" And I'd be like, "I'd rather die. I'd rather die than go out right now." So I played a lot of catch up, and then I got a PS4, and it's been history since then. I got the PS5. I did not get the PS5 when it first released because that was like climbing Mount Everest 4 times to try and get one.
It was like looking for the holy grail.
Yeah, pretty much. I finally got an
And then
invite.
when you found it, you needed $1 billion.
Yeah, and then you needed $4 billion.
$1 billion.
Or multiple face punches.
Yeah.
And fast shoots.
Yeah. I got an invite from Sony Direct to be early in the queue,
Okay.
and that's how I got my PS5.
Okay.
I
It was early in the queue.
And they were like, "Here, you're actually allowed to buy one. You don't have to buy one now." I said, "Oh, thank you very much. Let me give you all my money."
Probably all of them, yeah.
And so I did that, and that's my main console now. I play a lot of Switch too, just for the Nintendo exclusives. I'm a big Legend of Zelda person, which we'll actually probably segue more into because of some of the changes with the Zelda format. But anyway, yeah. So that's me. That's,
Awesome.
yeah.
So now, question out of my own personal interest here. Did you play all of the God of War?
So I played God of War, the first one. I played the second one. I played part of Ascension. I didn't like it. And then I just skipped it and went straight to God of War when it was God of War, like the Norse mythology. And then of course I played Ragnarok. So those are the main titles that I've.
Not to negatively impact flow, but this is a fantastic idea. I'm going to go upstairs and get some liquid deaths since talking and a bunch of that.
I will take one.
And then we'll cut 2.
I'll go fly through both of these.
Yes, I know.
In no time.
That's precisely why I grabbed 3 and then went, actually, no.
No, actually, no, it's
Rachel,
4.
that one is not enough for it.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, what we should do is set these to the side and then we all go, drink!
And then boom,
Cut to the.
like Thor, when he says another and scratches the beer.
Another!
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
This podcast not brought to you by Liquid Death.
No.
But Liquid Death, if you want to bring
if
the
you
podcast.
Want to bring the podcast, that would be
Huge
great.
fan.
Yeah.
I feel like guilty drinking my Kirkland now. Like it's a very small liquid death.
Hey, well, if they wanted only to be liquid death on the table, they can pay us.
That's true.
Also Kirkland, also Costco.
Also Costco. You know, like,
For
hey,
sure, take a Costco.
I would take a Costco.
Yeah.
They do good things.
Just pay for my monthly. You know,
So,
So are you the only one at the table with a PS5 right now?
must be.
Okay. No, nobody else has a PS5.
No PS5,
I do not have a
no.
PS5. I am currently in the I'll fucking wait for it on PC.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, I have a PS5. I do not have the new PS5 Pro. My PS5 is just fine.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just fine. It is running really well still, so I have no complaints about it for now.
I booted up my PS4 for the first time in like 2 years the other day. It sounded like a jet engine.
Did it?
But
It's full of dust.
because like a
It is
streamer
a
I
home
watch,
to dust.
it is. Oh, you need a cough drop?
Need some Robitussin? You okay?
You need some Delsum?
Yeah, just dump it on it.
Mucinex, dog? You good?
And then it short circuited, and now I don't have a PS4.
And now,
Or a
yeah,
TV. That's
now it's
right.
gone. Yeah. It is in the trash. But because recently I watched a streamer I enjoy play Detroit Become Human for the first time.
Oh, it's a great game.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't finish it because I was like, okay, I see where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
I have to play this for myself.
That's one of my that's one of my favorite, more contemporary game.
I've
I
never
think it's really
been
great.
like that because I didn't like The Last of Us. I tried it. I'm in the minority on this one for sure.
Soundtrack.
But I tried it. I was like, I'm bored.
I got bored. I did not. I'm not a. I do not stand The Last of Us like a lot of people do. I'm just. Even
If
though
I
love
wanted
that
to
genre,
watch TV, I would just watch TV.
I figure
That's what it felt like.
I
at
get
least.
that.
But playing Detroit,
Yeah.
it is different. It is
different.
It is quite enjoyable. But to segue from that,
Okay.
as our only PS5 owner. Actually, I guess the second question. How do you feel about Xbox? Like, will an Xbox come into your possession, or PC for that matter?
Oh, I mean,
at
I
some
don't.
point.
I'm not like. I'm not one of those people that is like super like I don't know what sort of like elitist about it. I guess you could say like there's some people that are like, you know, look at my PC and how it's been bow down to how inferior you are to me. And like
Watch
and
my house power surge when I turn it on.
right.
PC Master Race.
Yeah,
Oh, dang.
sure. Yeah, of course.
Easy Master Race.
Yeah, sure. That shit is what I'm talking about. This is the part where I take the mic off. But I just haven't sought it out. If I would for anything at all, it would be the new Fable.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because I did play. I watched a lot of that. I was also a big game watcher with my friends because I just sit there.
Cheaper to watch it.
It's so
Let me see what we got.
streamers exist for a reason.
Yeah.
I do love the original Fables.
You mentioning that, and then you guys mentioning Last of Us. Like, I enjoy Last of Us as a watch. I actually like bounced off of Last of Us in about like 2.5 hours of playing because much to your like, I have a very strict tolerance of like, if I want to watch a movie, I'll just watch it.
Exactly.
And so like if a game spends too much time, actually, it's my main problem with like most of the modern day like Metal Gear releases. I'm sorry, I know.
No.
But like it's the same thing, right? Like Metal Gear Solid 4 like is a movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a
Yeah.
movie. Like I was like 2.5, 3 hours into that game, and I think I played 5 minutes of video game at that point.
You're the cutscene.
And I was like,
You are just triggering cutscenes.
yeah. But watching people play Last of Us was a really, really enjoyable
For sure.
experience
Yeah,
because
for sure.
it was cinematic. I didn't have to engage with the mechanical portion of it,
just felt
and I
like-
was just like it's like watching episodic television.
Yeah, for sure.
You weren't waiting for your turn.
Right.
so
it felt like when you play it in person, you just hold a controller
Right.
Yeah.
for a very long time.
Yeah.
And they will never tell you, hey, you need a controller again.
Yeah.
Right.
kind of need to know.
To answer your question,
Yeah,
though,
sorry.
I absolutely would. I mean, I would have no qualms if I could if I could just naturally come into a situation where maybe like I stumble upon a friend getting rid of theirs and I would be interested. Sure, like, but I typically pick a console based on titles that I have the most interest in.
Fair.
So where things have like where I see continuity in exclusives that I've accepted fate to a certain degree with exclusives because I feel like I've been navigating exclusives since the dawn of consoles. Like, and so I've just kind of owned my fate and gone, which ones am I going to miss out on? Which is not like a fun thing to accept, but it's kind of where I've landed with the current market.
You
And
can
so
always
like,
watch 'em.
and so I can watch them. So like my two wheelhouses right now are PlayStation and Switch for that reason.
That's fair. That's fair.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
To go along with like, if it comes into my possession, I realized this the other day. I was talking with my partner. I've never bought my own console.
What?
So, yeah. So,
How do we
This
do
is very
Is
interesting.
it a coupon book or?
so my first console when I was a kid was the Nintendo 64. That was a hand-me-down from my dad.
Okay.
Next console, PlayStation 2 and like Game Boy, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I'm a child.
Right.
So obviously didn't buy those. And then when got PS3 for Christmas, again, didn't buy. And then when PS4 came out, I was finally an adult, I was 18, blah, blah. Didn't buy that. Also was a Christmas gift. And then my friend gave me an Xbox One.
Okay.
And then I don't know the statute of limitations, but I like finessed myself into an Xbox Series S.
Okay.
So Verizon was offering a deal.
Finessed.
Yeah, Verizon was offering a deal. Get our home internet.
It's like
get
20 years, just to be clear. Like, statute of limitations is
So I paid the first bill. I just didn't pay any more.
Sure.
But they didn't come to get the Xbox. So,
Yeah.
So essentially, like an Xbox for like $60.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
I don't think destroying your credit is against the law.
No.
To you're allowed.
I'll be all right. I'm still young. I'll recover at some
Oh, yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I'll recover at some point.
Yeah, you were born in the 80s.
Right. But yeah, so never have really come into possession of a console on my own.
That is
volition.
interesting. Yep.
You should get on that.
Well,
You know,
that-
eventually.
and I think that we'll probably circle around to this with the generalized topic, but like, is console wars still a thing though? Like,
I don't feel like it's
I don't-
like a
I
war.
don't think so, no.
Okay.
And
'Cause
I
I
think
think-
it's just what the player wants. Like they just, I don't feel like it's. I think there's a demanding supply. Like there's a demand issue in terms of like with Sony specifically. There's a demand issue with getting the console, but I don't feel like the console wars that I remember when when GameCube and Xbox and PS2 were all coming out at the same time.
Right.
And like that was
That was like a fight. That was a fight.
but I don't feel that. Maybe I'm just ignorant to it.
I feel like, most people probably just know that PC is better at this point. Just I'm saying like just the overall what it can do.
Sure.
Like, I know the consoles are built to run the games, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like they're just more powerhouses. Like
Sure.
they're stronger. They can do more things. They can run more screens. They can do like whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you can do more on them. So like I don't think there's like I'm not saying that it's better. Whatever. The specs are better.
Sure.
But what's nice about PC is we could play a lot of the same games that are on all the consoles now, and most of the emulators and all that kind of stuff on PC as well. But yeah, like I haven't seen as much for Xbox. Like it was really that Xbox PC or PS fight for a while too.
Plus,
You got an Xbox, you're a loser. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
plus I think
I have Halo. I don't need anything else.
to kind of go along to your point,
Titanfall.
after so many exclusives have hit like the wall, people have leaned into their houses, and now we don't care that much anymore. You know what I mean? You got your Xbox exclusives, who are now also on PC, and PlayStation also
Come to
leaning
PC.
into PC.
Yeah.
So you got either your two houses or you got a PC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm very much of the console wars generation, right? Like, even though I betrayed it, like, even though I was also just a video game connoisseur, like, so I had the Sega stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, well, I have the Sega stuff because I have to get the few Sega exclusives. But,
Right.
like, I'm a Nintendo player, right? Like, I play on Nintendo. And and like it was never ever about like specs or what plays
Yeah.
anything better. Like it was just like this is what my parents bought me, so I have to feel like I got the right thing. So you know. And then that did carry into like the next generation of right, like Dreamcast killed Sega.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I know Sega's not dead, but like,
But, I
but
mean-
as like a console.
Have you seen the Sonic movie?
That's like extremely undead.
Very great.
So like that killed like that particular rivalry, and then like it feels like Xbox and PlayStation just swooped in at that point, and Nintendo almost it was like, well, I play Nintendo and Xbox,
Right.
or I play
Yes.
like
It's on
Nintendo
its
and
own
PlayStation,
island.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And right at that point in time was when I was almost deviating myself and being like, well, I'm actually just like a PC gamer that just owns all the consoles, right? Like I was moving into adulthood with Xbox, right? And so it was just like, well, I have a real job and I'll just buy all of them, but I'm going to play the most on PC. But at that point in time, exclusives were still rampant, right?
yeah.
Like there was. Xbox was releasing Xbox games. They weren't coming out on PC. Nintendo was releasing Nintendo games. They weren't and still don't come out on PC. That's fine.
It sounds really
No
good.
one hears it. You heard nothing.
And then PlayStation and that stuff. And like, so it's interesting for me because this generation being the first generation, I chose not to buy like anything on release.
Yeah.
I felt like, well, I shouldn't say, well, this generation feels weird. I bought a Nintendo Switch on release night. But is that this generation? I would
No.
say no.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, but this, when it came to this generation, I looked at it and I was like, well, I will play all of these games. Xbox, I think, honestly, like, and Phil Spencer said so much, like, they don't care what you play Xbox games on.
Right.
Like, they do not care what you play Xbox games on. He was like, if we could put Xbox games on a Switch, if Nintendo would agree,
PlayStation.
if Nintendo would agree to put Game Pass on a Switch, we'd have it on there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I think you see like the Steam Deck and Game Pass working and running on that. So it feels like to me, and then when we talk about like online multiplayer, right? That was part of the camping of everything. It was like, oh, well, I'm PlayStation and I can only play Call of Duty with my PlayStation pals, so I'm a PlayStation person. Well, that's gone, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just
Crossplay.
playing with PC, you're playing with Xbox, you're playing with PlayStation crossplay because except Sony. It feels like Sony is still in that camp, at least like partially, right? They're like, okay, well, we'll give it to PC in a year. And I know that sounds funny, like in a year, but like that's kind of their thing. Like it'll come to PC in a year.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a PlayStation,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, they want to skim off all the profits from the game sales for their PlayStation players at the beginning.
Yeah.
But still, well, I don't know. Then there's people that would buy things again. So I don't know. Maybe it's their business model. They'll buy it once on their PlayStation, buy it once on their PC. I did it for Destiny.
Sure. But I mean, like, but that's the thing, right? Talk about the purchase of Destiny.
Yeah.
Right? That's where it comes into like, oh, okay, well, they bought this thing. Like, I think the timing of all of it is really weird. I think they're simultaneously going around the world trying to levy lawsuits against Microsoft for buying up these game studios and going like, you can't do that, you won't release their games. And Microsoft's going like, we actively are.
Right.
Like the games of studios that we own are still coming out on PlayStation right now. We don't have any intent to change that. Like this is about people buying Game Pass. We want Game Pass to become the most valuable offer that we possibly can, but we will release these titles on your platforms in perpetuity because we just want people to buy and play these games. Simultaneously, Sony is purchasing studios and being like, there's exclusive content, you can only play it over here. Right? Like, and this was out on your console a week ago. Like a week ago, you got everything day and date. But now, like, here's Destiny, and if you want the most modern Destiny stuff, and yes, it's all cosmetic stuff or whatever.
There was a couple missions, but
There was a couple missions,
it came out like 3 years later.
and they weren't great.
They weren't
And when
great.
they came out, everyone's like, oh, okay, I guess we didn't miss anything.
Right,
but
yeah.
that's that.
But you still feel like you're missing out.
You feel
It's
like
a
you're
follow-up.
missing out, and that pushes people into that, like, okay, well, I'm here, and this is my. And I've loved the world we live in, where it's like it just doesn't matter,
Right,
Yeah.
right? Like
Agree.
my friends playing XYZ game on Switch versus PC versus thing, and we just all go up, and it's just like the only reason you ever talk about it is like someone's having trouble matchmaking, and it's like, oh, weird. Like, what are you on to try and like help them to troubleshoot, right? Like that's the only reason you ever are aware of what's happening. And I think when we talk about like game of the year discussions, which I think we're getting ready to get into, I have a hard time separating that out. Like you could not like I have a hard time separating out a game that into even though I'm so used to console exclusives, that's the way it's been for way longer than it's been in the current paradigm. The question comes now, like, is that a hindrance of access to a group of people?
Right.
And then wholeheartedly admitting that whenever we begin this conversation fully, like, I don't hold Nintendo to that same standard. It's like, Nintendo can have as many exclusives as they want forever.
Right.
Well, because I think
Should all the Pokemon games
Nintendo's
on Xbox.
thing has always been affordability, right? To an extent.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just,
That
Let's
was
get
like,
into
to
it.
an extent.
Let's get into the full conversation.
Okay, yeah. So Game Awards,
Okay.
Game of the Year,
We're talking specifically about the Game Awards.
the
2024 Game Awards.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
okay.
Do y'all want to start with the big one first, or you want me to give you a couple little tidbits?
Start wherever
Yeah,
you
we're
want to.
start wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can work that. So Game of the Year,
Okay.
Astrobot,
Astrobot.
PS5 exclusive. Also went home with multiple awards. Take home 4. Took home the most awards that night. And it's PS5 exclusive. It's a family game, is how they market it.
Like,
My beef is I don't think it's fair for exclusives to be nominated for Game of the Year in general. To an extent. Especially a Sony one where for a still kind of, it's not great still to get a PS5. And also I still have Dragon Age Vanguard in my head. But
yeah.
that's, that's where most of my beef comes from.
Sure.
But
I mean, I agree that like it feels it's sucky that you can only play it on PlayStation. I'm not talking about Nintendo. That the game can exist and be Game of the Year. Like again, I feel if it was ported over to like PC and you could play Astrobot on PC, then like I wouldn't have an issue with that either. Like again, I don't have an issue with it, but it's like it is kind of it's a very small piece of the gaming pie that can play this game, which stinks,
Yeah.
And yeah.
So wait, I just want to pause and make sure that I'm following part of the beef.
Okay.
And give a juxtaposition before we get too far in.
Sure.
So like, do you take issue with Breath of the Wild winning Game of the Year?
No.
So I have to
So I
remove
think-
myself from the
I
conversation.
think it's because of the Nintendo Island that we were speaking of. Like everyone has an Xbox and a Nintendo, and a PlayStation and a Nintendo. Like it's all like everyone's just got that's in a box.
So
on the side. They
Nintendo's
all got it.
allowed, but everybody else is not. Is what I'm hearing.
So
like,
here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm actively saying. I think the conversation. I think that Astrobot's allowed to win. I think that exclusives are allowed to win in today's in today's landscape. But maybe we're 1 or 2 years away from really having to evaluate whether or not, like, Sony wants to bring up and have lawsuits on a public stage about what is monopolization in the game space. Let's talk about that. That looks like to me, buy our console or you can't play this game. Like that does not look to me like Xbox wants to throw billions of dollars at, and again, I don't really give a shit about Xbox. Like I play most of my stuff on PC. Yes, I have fun, but I have, frankly, up until this generation, have purchased all of them equally, right? So like, if anything, I'm a Nintendo person. But I would say that Nintendo needs to be looked at under the same lens in the current landscape to say, like, a release in order to be qualified from a Game of the Year's award, right? Like, hey, we'll give you a whole category because you are a staple of the industry. This is the best Nintendo game of the year. And damn it, if it had come out on PC or cell phone or anything else,
It would be Game.
it would be Game of the Year.
Sure.
But this, and then talk about saying like, or a bet. Hey, maybe it's one category called best exclusive game of
Sure.
the year,
I think
where
that's
Breath of
fair.
the Wild goes in. Where
That would
well,
be
I mean, it's a
Yeah,
different year.
yeah, but still, like same.
But I bring up the exact same question. Like, did I have any opposition when Breath of the Wild won? Fuck
No.
Well,
Right.
but it's because I had access to it, and
Right.
and I think to what you're saying, like there is access to it. And again, I don't really have beef with Astrobot winning, at a objective level, but it is starting to feel gross. Like it's starting to feel gross when in a landscape where even Nintendo is saying like Minecraft can be on our platform, like you can put your games out on our platform. We want our games to be cross-play. You know, we only develop games for the Nintendo.
Right.
And I do think if you want to be objective about it, you could say like, I don't know if Nintendo even knows how to develop a game for Xbox.
Right.
I
don't know.
would venture to guess they do
I would
not.
say no.
I would
Right?
hazard that same
So
guess.
like they would probably look at it. There's probably been where like somebody on a board somewhere at Nintendo's been like, can we put Mario on Xbox? And they're like, physically no.
No. Right.
We just can't. Like it won't port. We would have to remake this whole game.
You'd have to be on
for
an
sure.
emulator inside of an Xbox.
On an emulator inside of an Xbox, and until we're ready to do that, we're not going to.
Yeah.
But I do think that we're approaching a landscape where we have to talk about like what's good for gamers, what's good for developers, right? And as much as I've said like I don't have a problem with Xbox going around buying studios, I don't have a problem with Sony going around and buying studios, and I don't necessarily have a problem with studios that decide to get their bag.
Right.
But if I owned a game development studio, having the history of what that has meant, I'd look at those contracts extremely closely, right? And from my understanding of my friends that are in that industry and the people that are part of custom companies that have been bought up by that, the one that Microsoft is shopping around is very, very friendly. Like, hey, you're going to get money, and your output's going to be branded Xbox Studios, and you have to let us release it on Game Pass. But here's your exit clauses. Here's how you become a silo studio again. Here's how you own all of your IP. Like, and so there's like and I do think that's because in terms of CEOs, Phil Spencer is a gamer first that like tripped into that position. They were just like, we need somebody to fix Xbox, and he was like, well,
okay.
What?
Sure, no problem.
he's like, yeah, I can put a sport coat on for some meetings.
Every now and then, at least.
But like, that whole space of buying up studios, it's all problematic from what the landscape could look like standpoint when we had that dip and that taste of like what it looked like as everybody was starting to play well together and where like cross-play was such a thing. And so talking about like a Game Awards, I can't objectively say exclusive games can't win Game of the Year because there's a bunch of Game of the Years that I have backed wholeheartly,
Right.
and it's an exclusive game that
Sure.
I just happen to have access to and play a game. But I do think that general consensus, that general sentiment that I'm starting to hear from people is rooted in something. It's rooted in an environment that has changed since the days where everything was an exclusive.
Right.
Now, I don't think that needs to take anything away from Astrobot. I don't know if any of us have played it at this
Oh, I
table.
played the shit out of that
Oh,
game.
you have? Okay.
Oh,
So cool.
I've played the shit out of the game, and objectively, I would start it over right now just because I had that much fun playing it.
It looked a lot of fun.
It's genuinely a really good game. No, and I mean, like, I definitely think that there's an inherent issue with the notion of an exclusive winning. We have to go one way or the other. It's either that we have an issue with exclusive games winning, or we just roll with the punches and accept our fate that there's exclusives that are going to win.
Yeah.
Like I can't say, well, I feel like Breath of the Wild winning was, I just am sticking with that because it's the first one that pops
because
in my
it's
head.
inarguably correct.
Also,
You're
like,
Breath of the Wild
you know,
winning.
and I think about, okay, if we'd taken that out, what would have won?
Yeah, good question.
What would have won? I'll be Jamie.
You know, so
Jamie?
yeah, Jamie.
Jamie?
But you know, like, I guess it's a really sticky wicket for me because wow, we're just gonna throw Breath of the Wild away because it's a Nintendo exclusive, and I'm probably somebody who is in a minority on this, but I was not wowed by games this year.
Okay.
Like I
I was
wasn't
wild by
like,
one.
I was not like over the moon for many things this year. Like 2022, I would have struggled for my life to pick a game.
Fair.
2023 would have gone to Survivor for me. Like, you know, so there's some things that I could have, but 2024, I just kind of like,
Right.
and so when Astrobot won, I went, all right. Like, you know, I played the shit out of the game.
Yeah.
That was fun. I loved
Super
it.
fun.
I look at the list of everything that was nominated and went, okay, all right. Like, and I'm just somebody who has not personally gotten too into Dragon Age playing it, though I've watched it. So like, I can respect the hell out of the game, but I just don't have like a love affair for it because I'm not dove into that. But anyway, so
fair.
like, you know,
Before we talk about how great Dragon Age is as a franchise, Horizon Zero 2017 Game of the Year, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Horizon Zero Dawn was runner-up. Persona 5. PlayerUnknown's Battleground
Okay.
came out.
really?
Alright.
Yeah, and then Super Mario Odyssey was also out that year.
so wait, so there's 2 exclusives for Nintendo and 1 for PlayStation.
Okay, so hear
One
me out.
PlayStation exclusive and one PC mod for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Yeah, I mean,
So like the situation, the awards are rife with this issue, right? Like, and it's
Well, I think it's an issue that the Game Awards can avoid. Right.
sure.
we're also I think also important, except for the Nintendo Switch, every single one of those games is a last generation game.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
one of those came out in a different generation of Xbox and a different generation of PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I do believe that was the cusp of starting to see everything start to move crossplay.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't rampant as it is. Where now, if something is not crossplay, is online and not crossplay, everybody's like,
What?
What are you
yeah,
doing?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You're the weirdo.
Yeah. And at this day and age, it was like wouldn't it be cool if that was? Like, oh man, this would be
wow.
really fun
Yeah,
if it was.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I do think that context is important.
That's fair.
Like the landscape has changed in the last 8 years.
That's fair.
Six and a half or seven
Yeah,
years.
So many years.
Like 7 years drastically.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair.
But to your point, no. Like I've never had this sentiment as closely as I do, and at that point in time, it never even struck me how many of these are exclusives.
Right.
So it's kind of like to your point. There's something. So Nintendo exclusives, right? Mm-hmm. As that list proved, it was just Zelda and Mario. There isn't an aggressive expansion. You don't hear about Nintendo buying studios. You know what I'm saying? If an exclusive for Nintendo were to be nominated for Game of the Year, it would just be something related to those 2 IPs, essentially. You know what I mean? Because they're not like, oh, let me buy this. This is a new exclusive. This is just ours. It's Sonic isn't even an exclusive. That's on Xbox and PC too. I mean, Xbox, PC, and PlayStation.
Does Nintendo own rights to Sega franchises now?
I believe so.
They're in some of their games.
Yeah, because Super Smash.
Yeah.
So I would assume they do own.
What's happening? Snake. It's weird. Like Super Smash, the qualifier for Super Smash has to have appeared on a Nintendo console, and Metal Gear Solid originally released on Nintendo consoles.
So fun fact, Geralt of Rivia could show up in Smash
Yeah.
because they have put
I mean,
Yeah.
Witcher 3
Oh, yeah, for
on,
sure.
on
I
the
mean,
Nintendo.
Kazuya was in the last Super Smash Bros. From Tekken 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan. Kazuya.
Yeah.
Kazuya, go hard.
I mean,
No,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, go.
Well, I think there is something to what you're saying. Nintendo builds franchises, and those franchises, I don't think that Nintendo, and I'm sorry if I'm outspeaking here, but ARMS wasn't it. Splatoon is the closest thing to a new game franchise that Nintendo has made. But even that is is that a decade old now?
Yeah.
I mean, and no, don't get me wrong. I have I have 2 kids. I have one that's video game playing age. Splatoon is a big.
Oh, it's
thing.
huge.
Like it's big
for sure.
You know, and I think we'll continue on. I think we will see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10s. You know, all sorts of stuff in the same way we've seen Mario Kart. But again, that's Nintendo building franchises, right? They build worlds, they build characters, they build franchises in ways that like every other console manufacturer could hope to have one of.
Right. Yeah.
Microsoft and Xbox would murder to have Master Chief be as valuable or as as and people love Halo, but to have a franchise that is as beholden to people as any of Link or Mario or Samus or Mega Man or anybody is. But times change.
Yeah.
And I am willing for Nintendo games to be held to the same scrutiny of the market as a whole to say it's okay to have exclusives.
Yeah.
We just can't, in today's landscape, say the best game that everybody should have played is a game that you would have had, if you don't already own the console, you would have had to go. And hell, I'll even say anything that's exclusive on PC, right? Like if for whatever reason, like a Stellaris or a Factorio were to like come up in the Game Awards, they can be there for game design, for music, for every other thing. But we're saying this is the game that every gamer should have at least poked at.
Yeah.
It's hard to put that behind a $500 or $600 paywall
That you can't get.
I mean, or whatever, or in the PC space, a $1,500 paywall to say like, hey, the only way for you to play this one game was to spend an exorbitant amount of money.
RTX 4090.
And this may be the only game of that you wanted to play, right?
Right.
2 CD Projekt Red's, like, which is a PC game developer, right? Like, those games come out and work the best on
a PC. Absolutely.
Always and forever.
Yeah.
They still try and get that game out to as many different platforms as they can, functioning as best as they can.
Yep.
And that's what I think that's the direction that we as gamers should start to hold.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
these companies, like, too. At least when we're handing out awards and going like, congratulations, you did the best thing in this space.
Yep.
You might have made the most artistic, the best directed, the best music, the best all that stuff. But it can't be the game of the year for everybody to play if everybody if everybody who's already playing games didn't have access to it.
I do agree.
I agree with that.
I feel like that's where we're at with something like Astrobot.
And I feel like your initial point, like there should just be a category of best exclusive type. And then the rest should be at least accessible by 70% of the gamers or something like that. I mean, not everybody's going to have everything.
Or at least if it had that like combo, it released on PS and PC. Or Xbox and PC. As long as it opens up at least one other avenue of acquirement.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're gonna, I feel like it should be, if it's gonna be Game of the Year, if I already have a PS5 and a Switch, and you tell me it's accessible through Xbox and PC, I'm still not gonna go buy an Xbox to play the game. So in my mind, it's still, I don't. If we're gonna go that route, I'm not gonna accept 70% of gamers. Like, that's just me though. Like,
well, just to be clear, and just to be fair with what Microsoft is doing in that space, to go back to the point I made like maybe an hour ago at this point, what Phil Spencer and Xbox says, they don't care what you play your game on. You can download the Game Pass app on your cell phone right now.
Sure.
Put that thing in a Razor Black and pay every Game Pass game right now, streaming from the cloud. Now, that does require that you have a decent internet connection. And I will, for single player games, it is not a problem.
Right.
Like it is, you can't play online fast Twitch stuff that way. But every single game experience I don't download most of the Game Pass single player games. I just stream them from cloud onto my Steam Deck. Because it's It's fast, easy. Multiplayer stuff, download locally. But I agree. I actually agree with what you're saying. I think if we're going to move into this...
If we're going to move into an access issue, then it should just be that we address the access issue on the whole period.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
I think it needs to be like, it would need to be a situation where it's like 2+ consoles and PC, or a console and a game streaming service that's accessible from an internet browser or a phone, a phone-based thing.
Sure,
It needs to come with a metric of accessibility that's something, because to your point, Xbox could be like, well, everything, it's Xbox and PC, and it's like, they're the same thing.
Yeah, right.
We're not fooling anybody. Xbox is just running Windows 11.
Right.
Like,
you cannot trick me anymore.
You can't just do that, right?
I didn't buy my mommy didn't buy my PC. I did. My mommy didn't buy my Xbox. I did. I know.
So what we need to do is just remove the Game of the Year title. Is what we're saying. Otherwise, Call of Duty's just going to win every year because it's the only game that's on every platform.
There's the real.
It's just a list of sports games.
Right, yes. FIFA.
It's just a list of sports games, which happens to also be Tremaine's Game of the Year list.
Okay,
it's just sports games and
here's a list of games that did things. There you go.
I mean, I think there's another conversation when we start talking about like, how can you actually say in today's gaming landscape that this is the best game that came out?
Right.
Sure.
It's already so segmented. It's already so different, right? Like somebody who like has spent 2,000 hours playing Dota 2. I don't know anybody who's ever done that. But like but like may not have the same gaming interests as somebody who's put 2,000 hours into, Football Manager. Right. Those are both gamers, right? And so I think that's another thing that like comes into the space is like, my wife. I'm sorry.
I was going to go to my wife too.
But who plays hours of Pokemon Go every single day will still sit at a table and tell you like, I'm not really a gamer.
Which is hilarious.
Because of that latent, like, who traveled to compete at a competitive level in a regional of this video game.
Yes.
Yep.
Because there's still this latent barrier of entry to be like mobile games aren't games,
Right.
or like
you already have the phone in your
or
pocket.
like sports games aren't games, right? Like and all this sort of stuff, and it's all games, right? Like it's all games and it's all game playing, but it's just not. It is objectively not the same. Like I can't go to my wife and be like, oh, you like Pokemon Go? You should try Dota.
Right.
That ain't gonna
Inherently
be
different.
Diablo 4.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. You'll have a blast.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, right? Balatro was a nominee.
Let's talk about Balatro.
And is available on mobile.
Is it PC and mobile?
Yeah.
It's Switch, PC, mobile.
Okay.
See, I never played Balatro.
Doesn't meet the criteria.
No. Let them cook.
You know what? I'm just going to play Balatro right now. So you guys can keep talking. So, I mean, Balatro's a great example, right? I think Balatro's a great example of almost everything we were just talking about there. Not an exclusive title. There's not a shiny graphic on that thing. It's pixel art through and through.
It's like mode at the edges.
It's a roguelike poker game.
Okay.
So like on its surface level, it's like when someone told me that, I was like, I don't know, I'm not interested in playing that. And then you boot it up, and it's a gaming experience like that is unique and interesting and cool in a way that like it doesn't matter if you know anything about it is calling it a poker game is effectively irrelevant other than the pieces that you're moving are
they're cards.
At first level, when you're starting out and you've done nothing to unlock new things, it is a regular 52 card deck, right? With one of each ace and one of each. But by the time you're playing Balatro for 200 hours, your deck is made of 19 aces and and 4 queens and you build this like spell book effectively of jokers that augment your hand in a specific way, and you're going up against these blinds, which are the bosses basically, to go like, okay, well you have to play a hand worth 600 chips, and you've got 4 hands to try and do it. You're discarding cards, and you're putting effects and spell effects on these cards, and it is like there's. Other than like, this is a pair, and this is a straight, and this is a flush. There's nothing poker related. Yeah. All the way to the point of like, there is like hands like the flush 5, which you could never have in poker, which is a full flush 5 of a kind. Well, guess what? There's not 5 of any card in a deck. That doesn't really work or exist.
Right.
And it's got like, all the spells are like tarot cards, and then you upgrade a hand's value by playing a planet. It's silly and stupid. And holistically, like, you boot up Balatro, and it's 4 hours later, and you're like, oh, shit.
I should have been in bed.
I should have been in bed.
I had things to do today.
I will tell you, like, the last 2 months of my life, my sleep has been negatively impacted by the fact that instead of doing my daily instead of doing my daily Sudoku, I boot up Balatro. It does not itch the same thing in my brain of starting to calm me down, and it just starts making me think about.
I'm here.
Yeah, I am awake.
I'm eating
and
now.
alive.
Yeah.
But as a game, that's not Balatro's fault. That's me, Drew. I should not boot up Balatro at 1 a.m.
Don't seem like a good idea.
Dreaming about bouncing cards and Joker faces.
Yeah. And that's somebody with a pretty steep clown fear going into that. So like to say that a game that is holistically about building a little repertoire of clown faces that you got to look at the whole time. It is a really great game. And deserved to all of the accolades that it got. And I'm not saying that Astrobot didn't deserve all the accolades that it got. Of course. But what I am saying is that I could see a space where Astrobot moves into a exclusivity column.
Sure.
And a game like Balatro that literally everybody I know who has played it has been like, shit, that game is good.
Right.
Like,
I shouldn't touch it. I won't touch it.
I feel like I need to touch it.
I say it sounds like it's gonna give me some kind of like really bad itches.
I saw the initial like when I was kind of looking at like the Game of the Year awards kind of recaps and all that stuff. I saw Balatro because I heard you talking about it. And my initial reaction is like, nope. No.
Can't do it.
It's not my bag. Yeah. But then like I watched a total like a overview of the game in itself, going over all the little pieces like that you just talked about. I'm like, I can see it, but then I'm like, I still can't touch it because I have a very addictive personality and I'm scared to not sleep again. But it does look interesting. And how much does it cost? Is it?
It's pretty cheap. It's like
I think like $3.99 or $6.99.
I think it's like a $6.99 phone app.
Okay.
On both of those stores.
Do you play on your phone?
I play on both my phone and PC.
Okay.
I don't have it on Switch because I just can't.
You don't need it on Switch.
I don't need it on Switch. Also one of the things that, hey, Balatro, if you're listening to this podcast that doesn't exist yet,
we're not real people.
Can we get some cloud progress? Because unlocking new decks on my phone and then having to re-unlock them on my PC.
That's owie.
Well, it's owie to my sleep.
Yeah, right.
It's fun to do in the game.
Okay, now let me go unlock these on my computer real quick.
Yeah, but
So it's the cloud's fault why you're not getting sleep.
but green
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
green staking a deck and then being like, well, I gotta go green stake the checkered deck on my phone too.
Gotta match it.
Yes. I don't want to have cards over there that I don't have cards over here.
I'll just get confused and then I won't want to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah, if we could get some cloud saves, that'd be really good for my.
I mean, it seems like a
my
very
children's
simple
future.
game
That does
with a small amount of file size.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
like a
I
very
feel like
simple cloud saves.
I feel like we could.
Especially with it being on mobile, I definitely feel like they could figure out.
I feel like we could probably. I feel like, but that being said, like
Move some packets over.
the backstory of it's amazing too, because it was like it's one developer.
Yeah.
Like he made this game because he was like, this is funny. I want to see what
cool.
I want to see what this I want
Right.
to see what this is like.
I wonder if anything else is involved.
And
I wonder.
yeah, I mean, and so it was like a little passion project, and then showed it to like a handful of people, and they were like, you have to release this. Like
You got something.
yeah,
got something,
and then
baby.
did,
Yeah.
and we're in a post Balatro world now. Yeah, I'm-
BBW.
There's also, it just came out, a Pokemon mod for it, where all the Jokers are replaced by the original 151 Pokemon. I haven't downloaded it yet.
Okay.
Don't convince me, please.
You need sleep.
You really are.
He really does need to sleep.
Maybe none of this exists. I don't know. I could have just fever dreamed all of it. I mean, as I'm saying this out loud, like there's a
Wait,
Pokemon mod for this
Pokemon
poker
mod?
game. Yeah, maybe I actually haven't slept in 2 months.
Jamie, is there a Pokemon mod?
Hell of a thing.
There was?
There actually been
Alright,
a
you're
Jamie
not
over there
here.
this whole time.
But I think that, like, I think that there's a discussion to be had on that. And then I think that there's also discussion to be had when we start to talk about games that did democratize access in positive ways that are then left off of a list, right? And that's again, I mean, possibly the question is like, does a Game Awards need to have a definitive
Right.
Game of the Year anymore?
Right, the king or queen of the entire show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
how relevant is it really?
Right.
Like, how, and I'm. Are there specifically, and if the answer is yes, and I just don't know, that's fine. Are there specifically listed criterion for like what identifies the Game of the Year? So that makes it kind of like hard for me to also argue that it's a relevant category.
Yeah.
Like when I think about what everything is being assigned awards for, right? Like,
Well, then who's voting as well?
So the voting isn't fan
Right.
based,
Right.
which
Right.
is annoying. They reach out to X amount of like media outlets, and they vote. Like IGN will list. IGN reached out to Polygon, stuff like that. Other, because I looked that up because I was like, who? How do we get?
How do we get
who
there?
did
Yeah,
this
how
to
do we get
me?
here?
How do we get there?
Right.
And it was just like 10% fans, 90% media outlets.
Sure. So interesting.
Well, because then they had, I think, was it the Steam Awards too, or whatever, where
Yeah.
that is all player
Yeah.
voted.
Okay.
Was it Wukong or one of the other, like either Wukong or what was it the Meta? What was that other game? That super anime RPG kind of looking game. I don't remember what it was. There's a colon in it. It's got a colon.
Obligatorily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, Astrobot couldn't be on that because it was Steam.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, so very different player base.
Well, and I think all of those things. I think awards are nice. Like I think accolades are nice. I think conceptually the idea of being able to listen, like if I was at all involved in making Astrobot and my game won Game of the Year at the
yeah.
Game Awards, I mean,
Top of the world.
you know,
Top of
yeah. Like that would be amazing. But like, I also don't know that like, if I made a game and everybody that touched it was like, "Hey, this game is great."
Yeah.
If I'd need anything else, but that's just
Yeah.
me, and that's
Right.
not to say that like, you know, I mean, like when you talk about sports, you talk about like if you talk about F1, right? Like, hey, it might be nice to come in win a race, but like winning the Constructors' Cup means something to sponsors and money and all that stuff down the road. And so like Astrobot's the developers of Astrobot will be able to go to Sony's purse, you know, pockets the next time and go, hey, remember Astrobot?
Yeah.
I could probably do it.
You know,
do it again.
Like, let's
Cut me
do
a
it
check.
again, but we need this, you know, we need X amount. And so like, and that's people's livelihoods and all of that sort of stuff in a positive way, right? Like for them. So
Yeah, and this could be PlayStation's Mario.
it could be, right? You know,
I mean, that's how it feels.
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I would even.
Well, because that's not the first time Astrobot's been seen. It's been multiple times or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Not only that, but then the Astrobot game or whatever also called back to a lot of old characters in the PlayStation franchises
Yes.
and all that stuff. So there's some nostalgia in there built in as well for a long time.
It was also, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Astrobot it was called like Astrobot's Playroom. It was the game that came with the PS5.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then the full title was obviously the big to do,
Yeah.
right? But like
Yeah.
even just the I remember playing it when I first got a PS5 and just was like, I want more of this.
There's a
And
PSVR experience, Astrobot experience as well, right? I
think so.
Probably
I
when
think
they released the VR.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's all their introductory kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and they did a great job with the nostalgia piece like you were talking
Yeah.
about too. Yeah.
Life collecting.
So my question.
Yeah.
We talked about franchises earlier.
French fries?
Franchises.
Dude,
Nintendo obviously best at building franchise over long term.
objectively.
Objectively.
No, it's objective.
It's objective, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Like, longest franchises,
has a
longest
long-
lasting
yes.
franchises,
Long-
most profitable franchises, all
Yeah.
of them are owned by Nintendo.
Yeah.
But I would argue Sony, in its own right, doing way better than like Microsoft is at developing franchise. Because when we were talking about franchise earlier, for Microsoft and Xbox, we kind of only had Halo. I would say
Early
Sony.
on, yeah.
I mean, shit, I don't know.
I can't
another
think of
one.
anything else right now on Xbox.
Do we mean like a character or a reoccurring franchise that's
I would say either character or reoccurring franchise. So I would say Sony now has Aloy, Kratos, Astrobot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Kratos away from them only on the fact that that's like you just took a character from mythology and went like you could play as this person.
Yeah.
Not to the God of War games are objectively all good, especially for their time, right? Like every single one of them is good. Those are great games. As a character, Kratos existed before
That's true.
Sony ever touched him.
That's true. That's why I didn't throw Spider-Man on there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like Aloy is really one of their big ticket winners as far as like
for sure.
who is their staple character right now in Sony. It's Aloy.
Laura Croft.
Lara Croft.
I mean, is
It was a long runner.
a long,
It's a long runner.
runner.
Yeah, definitely in terms of tenure of existence for sure.
And I don't think they've always done right by that character. I don't think that character's always stood as a positive female protagonist.
No.
No.
I would even say like
No. Like when the movies released?
Huh?
Like when the movies released?
I would actually. I felt icky playing the first re-released, like the most modern day one with the new one, and where the whole thing was like, hey, we're gonna make her less sexy,
okay,
and then
sure.
we're gonna murder her over and over and over again in cutscenes, and I was like,
It's not.
this is worse.
Not
Like
for me, yeah.
It's not.
like
it's not it.
It's not it.
like. This is worse.
Yeah.
She could have very big boobies and you still respect her. Just to be very clear.
Right.
Putting that out there.
Well, shrink these and turn the mutilation up to 11.
Yeah.
Right.
Terrible. Yeah, I mean, that would, but again, those franchises have been successful outside, like, they did at least give you the option to skip those cutscenes over and over again, and those games were fun and good and good games outside of that very, very large flaw. But like, I think you're probably right. I mean, I think like, I think you'd have to go to Valve next. Like to say like who as a game developer has like franchises and characters that mean as much to people and have been around as long as I mean, you know, like Valve's got Counter-Strike, they've got Team Fortress, they have obviously Half-Life, which like we can maybe close off the end of this talking about all the Half-Life 3 rumors that like I think have weight this year.
All right. All right. It's this year.
Well, we'll see. So I mean, I think, yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I think Sony, in the same, as much as we like really sat down and kind of shit on them for an hour and a half, like they're right there with Nintendo in terms of like having built franchises that they'd want to protect.
Right.
But you could still, and I say this for Nintendo too, you can still lead the development. You can still control the storytelling that's happening to those characters. And actually, Sony doesn't exclusively do this. They give those characters out to different studios, to different people to play. And democratize access to the final product in a way that is more inclusive. And Nintendo can do this too. And I hope that they do, at least into the mobile space. If they're going to keep occupying a space that's like not very powerful gaming machines and release games that could run on our phones, then maybe that's the space that they do it in. I understand Nintendo's like deep-seated fear about the emulator community and how easy it is for the emulator community to make access to their games available, and why they
Literally shipping you the digital file.
why they
The download.
why they wouldn't like maybe want to actually just give access in the PC space. But also just give us access in the PC space.
Like, you'll be okay. I promise. You're Nintendo.
I mean, I get why they're afraid, right? Like they were in a space where Sega was their biggest competitor, and emulation, not even emulation, just pirating in and of itself ruined them. And the only company that I think games are still actively being pirated is Nintendo. For sure. If I talk about my group of friends that play games, like, I mean, I have people that own a Switch and play their Nintendo games on their Steam Deck. So I understand why Nintendo has concerns in that space. But
Well, part of it I blame on the Switch itself, not necessarily Nintendo. Well, Nintendo Switch. It's old hardware. It's kind of, the way it's shaped isn't pleasant to me as a person.
it's never been organic.
It's not great. So like, if I could put it on my Steam Deck, why wouldn't I?
Well, that's why everyone's
That's
I'm sure
literally
that's why.
they run better. They don't have screen tearing. They don't have hitching. They look better on
you
the
can
screen.
upscale.
You can upscale almost all of them.
Yeah.
And so like that's like why wouldn't you?
like a better version.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
And so if Nintendo's space is going to continue to be that space, and I will 100% be buying the the Switch 2, whatever it is, like, and I'll be there on release night for that. I'm positive of it.
Give me thumbs.
And I'll probably be buying 2 of them because my daughter is, I mean, I am currently a 3 Switch house. Like every game player of my house like has a Switch.
Yeah.
And so, but I think when we're talking about access to games, Nintendo's been very good, I would say even better than Sony, about saying like, put your thing on Switch. We want your game to come over to Switch.
Yeah.
I actively think that like, if I think that the only reason Game Pass isn't on Switch is because they just can't make it work. I don't think that there's any opposition to that at all from Nintendo or Micro. Like, it should probably just sell more Switches.
Yep. Probably would.
Yep. Because it'd be a cheaper version of a Steam Deck. Then.
Yeah, for the most part, or close to similar thing.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that as we move forward, we talk about this like, it's funny that we wound up at like, does a game of the year need to exist? And maybe the answer is no.
Maybe not.
Like, maybe the accolade of best exclusive title is an interesting one to keep maintained because it's like, if you gotta buy one,
Right. Yeah.
Who's the one?
Who's the one
doing it best?
that's doing the best? There's an interesting component from that. And then just knowing, like, I'm a gamer that likes single player adventure experiences. So best single player adventure game of the year was, XYZ,
XYZ, yep.
right? Best online multiplayer, like first person multiplayer experience was this. I think we are in an age where like gaming looks different for so many different people.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's so many options now.
So
And then things like Balatro can fit in a space like, best breakout hit, and not to diminish what Balatro is,
Right.
It's not a AAA title.
It's not a AAA title, and there's just nothing. It's like Is it a roguelike? Yes, sort of, but that's a diminishing of what it is. Is it a poker game? Absolutely not, but that's kind of, so it's just like, this is the thing that doesn't have a category already. Like, gaming's going to develop, and there will be, like, 25 years ago, there wasn't first-person shooters, and, well, wow, Jesus Christ. Okay. Hi.
Was it Doom out? So that's
35 years ago, there were 35, can I say 35 years ago there wasn't
85 years ago. There was
40 years ago. 40 years ago, there wasn't first-person shooters.
Chocolate?
Bread Blaster 3.
I think the space is changing. And I think as the space changes, then you will have new categories that form, but maybe we have moved into Game Awards looking more specifically at what draws people to specific types of games.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe Balatro will be the new freshly installed thing on Windows PCs over Solitaire. Solitaire and put Balatro on all PC.
When we're 80, kids will be like, it comes with Balatro.
I remember Balatro.
I was almost 40 when Balatro came out.
Oh, Jesus.
I know, we're getting close.
That sentence made you feel great, huh?
I don't really care.
I don't feel old.
Yeah. I don't really care. I don't, there's moments where like,
Oh, yikes.
you know, when like, honestly, I don't care about being 40 nearly as much as I do the fact that I just said 25 years ago there were first-person shooters, and I just realized that like 25 years ago was 2000, and there were definitely first-person shooters. I was playing them, and they were everywhere. And to me,
They were popular.
and to me in my brain, first-person shooters is like that's the new thing. You know,
I just said to my wife the other day, I was like, oh yeah, my favorite album is, oh my God, it's 20 years old. And I was just like driving with existential dread.
Here in my car.
those are the moments that I don't like. But like personally being
Yeah.
like, it's better than the alternative. I didn't want to die when I was 30. I didn't
Right.
die when I was 25. So, you know, I want to be 120 and talking about this stuff.
I'm gonna be 120 and dual sticking it.
Yeah.
With arthritis,
Yeah.
one claw hand.
Replace all my bits with robot bits. So I can keep
We'll
playing.
be at that point.
We'll be
Yeah.
at that point there.
Actually, you won't even need to because you'll just control it with your mind.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, I don't think, I'm gonna say 50 years from now, I don't think controllers are really.
Oh, we're not. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll talk about that forever. But I don't.
Are we spinning back to
I don't even want it. Oh, dog, you back?
We put the
Call
chip
back
in?
joke.
Yeah.
We are our own console. We got.
Okay, let's end there. How many years we'll do that? How many years until we're all like just normally controlling stuff with our minds?
I mean, they already do
I'm gonna
with
say
prosthetics.
2077 going for Cyberpunk.
You're going 2077,
I don't even know what year it is right now.
2025.
Almost at 24. That's crazy.
Well, just give it a 50. We'll give it a 50.
You think 50?
Yeah.
Like in 50
Then
years.
I still feel like that's a
2050.
little long.
I think that's
I think it's very long. I'll give it. I'm gonna have.
He
it.
said
I'm going-
2077.
I'm going 25.
just
Yeah,
just
I
to be
was-
very clear. He said 2077. 50 years from now is 2075. So
I'm gonna go half.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut that in half, just because they literally already have prosthetics that like
Yeah.
can move like not by firing neurons.
Yeah.
So like I feel like we're not far off of it.
Yeah, my guess
You
was
know?
2050.
Yes.
oh yeah, I'm well. So I'm gonna.
2026.
I
Next
am,
year.
I am 2030 at the latest.
Dang. Okay. Sure.
Full mind.
Yeah, I'm 2030 at the latest. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like 15 years ago, that like Star Wars Force Kit thing, where you got like an AB wave scanner thing, and you move the ball up and down as a kid's toy.
Yeah,
came
you're
out.
right.
Yeah.
You know, and we
You're-
already have the brain implants happening, and company and person aside, it is existing. Those people exist, and it is life changing for people that are paralyzed in that way. I think the point in which we're putting on our smart glasses and those are sensitive enough to pick up the brain activity for us to just like look over in the corner and go do that. We're specifically talking about like controlling interfaces, not like
Essentially.
telekinesis.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Like,
Pretty
then,
much-
then I'm coming off of my 2030.
Like
but-
pretty much turn on TV, no controller, you are the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
2030 then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
2030.
That's fair.
That's all right.
All right.
All right.
I think that something's going to happen in between then that's going to slow everything down. But anyways, we'll get there.
Like an extinction event?
Not the bees, man. It's the bees. It's the bees.
Ron's like, 2028, we all cease existing.
Yes, but then we'll come back because brains and waves and stuff.
bees.
And bees.
And the bees! The bees rat it all!
Bees will reboot the Wi-Fi router and we'll all come back out of the machine.
All right.
Not the
Anyways,
basics, it's the bees.
what's our
It
sign
won't be
off?
machines, it'll be the bees.
Okay.
Sign off?
Yeah, what's our... You have that whole slideshow and you don't have
I didn't
a
write a monologue. I thought about it, didn't write it.
I didn't even know the name.
Well, thank you for joining us. This has been
Yeah.
SydeCast. Been an incredible pilot, I would say.
I enjoyed it.
I had fun.
I mean, I had fun. Yeah.
Dragon Age Veilguard should be Game of the Year. Anyway, y'all have a good
He did it. He did it.
They kept the soapbox from me. It's in the back.
Yeah, signing off.
Signing off
Signing
is our
off.
sign off. Yeah, thank
Signing
you.
off. Same bad time. No, not do that.
All right, thank you.
Save that time. Save that shit.